Like, your copes are fine, but I'm like...
Solutions, only trade-offs.
Yeah. Is that what your therapist says?
No, that's just how life works.
I believe that.
Whenever there's 3 of something, it's like that was very intentional. You know? I've been thinking about why I took such a long break from vlogging, and I think it's actually because, like, I feel like I'm a reality supremacist. I'm coming out as a reality supremacist, which is so ironic as someone who has spent so much of her life online. But I think that actually makes me uniquely like positioned to be a reality supremacist, because I know what it's like to spend not maybe a majority of your life online, but what's your guys' screen time? Because mine's 6 hours a day. Not as bad as Drew and Enya's. If anyone tunes into Emergency Intercom. But certainly not something to be proud of, perhaps. But I'm getting to a point where I'm like, the more apps, you know, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, I have podcasts now, the more mediums and channels that are public facing, the more I'm spilling my thoughts and expressing myself publicly, one to many, I deprive myself of the opportunity to have and build intimacy and connection and like that with somebody one-on-one. Like, I think about this a lot, like actually living alone is very advantageous as a YouTuber, because if you don't have a roommate to express these things to, you gotta pick up the camera and tell somebody, gotta pick up the phone and FaceTime somebody. And I love putting these things out. I love documenting these things for myself and sharing them and allowing people to see parts of themselves in it. It's very important to me. I'm not saying like reality supremacy, but like the online space has a purpose to it. But I think the purpose has sort of like usurped reality for a lot of people, where it's like, let me just, any waking thought I have, just like post it instead of sending it one-to-one. And recently I have been doing e-letters with a few friends, and ironically I posted about that on my close friends story, which is one to many. It's probably 50 or 60 people on there. Also, I asked this on my interviewing New Yorkers about their friendships video, but like, how many people are on your close friends story on Instagram if you have one? Comment it down below just as a poll. Once again, I'm begging YouTube to have a survey functionality within the comment section. If there's any YouTube product managers watching my video, which there very well might be, from my tech San Francisco days, they might have, you know, come in the fold during that phase. Poll survey in the comments. Let's get it going. Comment down below how many people are your close friends. Anyway, post to my close friends if anyone wanted to do like a slow communication with me, instead of texting updates immediately, sending audio messages, FaceTiming, almost synchronous communication, like not mailing letters, okay, which it would be amazing, but emailing, and taking the time to write out, you know, a thoughtful little, almost like a little essay. And here's the thing is, like, even when I was writing those letters to my friends, documenting like my very personal thoughts, I was tempted to be like, but what if I just posted these on Substack? Another channel. Like, I don't have a Letterboxd or a Goodreads, but it's like, if I came out of a movie and had those, maybe I'd be tempted to just like spill all my thoughts there instead of like calling up or like messaging somebody that has seen the movie and like talking about it with them, you know? Or like the person that I went to the movie with talking about them. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, these things are at odds with like our more sort of like immediate interpersonal interactions. It's like this sort of making everything so public facing does have ramifications. And a lot of times I think the most beautiful way, if content is allowed to be beautiful, the most beautiful way that content comes to be for me is when I have a conversation with a friend, with a beloved person in my life, and through the creative, generative power of a conversation, we birth an idea, and I surface that and I put it online. So it's like that, and with their consent, of course. that is like amazing, because it's like, okay, the genesis of that was not this, it was us, and then I allowed you to get the window into that. Versus I feel like a lot of times I'll share something on TikTok or on a YouTube video, and then I'll end up repeating it to a friend. I don't know whether or not they've seen the YouTube video. I'm rambling on and on. There's like no coherence or like synthesis to this, but basically I've just been grappling a lot with like the dissonance of being somebody who like really cares about being intentional, purposeful, mindful with my relationships, like slowing things down, but also being someone who lives so publicly. It's like, how do I find the balance when there's just like endless ways to like publicly like journal your life? It's like, I want to have a private, I got my private on lock. Like my morning pages, those don't see the light of day. Those are just for me. Got that on lock. The friendship channel, like there's definitely avenues of communication, but I would actually, in my heart of hearts, I'd probably want to take a lot of the stuff I post on social media, and I don't think a lot of it needs to be there. I think a lot of it could just be between me and my friends. And that's actually like a line that I think you as a viewer, you probably see creators cross all the time, where it's like something they probably should have just put on their close friend story, but they put on their Instagram story, and people are like, I think this wasn't really like, I think this kind of got out of context, and like we don't really, as viewers, get the thing here. I think that happens all the time, and it's like, I give so much grace, because I'm like, it's so hard to know what the viewer, how much context they have, what they've seen of yours, if they've seen everything, if they've seen, like, it's just so hard to like calculate. So in a lot of ways it feels safer to just keep it in my personal life. And this is probably very unrelatable for most of you, because most of you probably just have those personal channels and maybe a private channel and then not a public channel. But it's like, I have a lot of shit to say. I love having a lot of channels, but then it's like, when do I click the remote to what? So that's the type of shit I'm on. And I'm basically always thinking about ways that I can invite the people in my life more into my life, and like further that symbiotic, beautiful, mutual relationship, instead of maybe like siphoning so much of that away for the sake of having like more content. I haven't been on the content farm grounds for some time. Like, I feel like I'm not really sowing the crops as much as some other people, and no one wants to hear this, but that's why a lot of YouTubers don't have many friends, because if you have a lot of friends, the purpose of having this gets a little duller, because it's like, if you have a lot of outlets for these thoughts, you don't always need this one. This began like in 2011, 2008. This was for people that couldn't express some things in real life, didn't have the intimacy or the availability or the accessibility to do that, and so they came here. Okay, but let me just say this, okay. You know how there's the slow food movement, like against sort of like processed food? It's like, let's use natural ingredients. Maybe I'm phrasing this wrong, but it's like a very Italian thing. It's like, no fast food, right? Like, take the time to eat it and make it. In the vein of the slow food movement, let's relate that to content farming. They call it content farming, but really digital content oftentimes feels more like the drive-through, and 4-hour-long conversations you have with a friend on a balcony feel like the slow food, like very nourishing. Like, parasocial relationships can only get you so far. They're not that nutritious for you. I've found that to be true. Like, it doesn't mean they don't taste good. Okay, dipping into some cannibalistic metaphors here, which I'm not trying to do, but doesn't mean that parasocial content doesn't taste good. It just maybe means, it maybe is not gonna make your bones super strong and give you lasting energy. You know, that's what in real life relationships do. And that's why I'm a reality supremacist, because Taylor Lorenz warns us. I have to find the quote. It haunts me, so I don't want to read too much of it. But she says we're kind of getting to a point where the pendulum, or maybe the seesaw of what is sort of like the basis of reality, is going from like in person in real life to the internet. And I can't have that happen because the internet, well, fuck, both are controlled by bad things. Both have horrible structures underlying them. But I can't let my life be dictated by an algorithm. That takes away sort of a lot of my agency and free will. Hot take. But yeah, I don't know why it feels like I'm engaging in some sort I don't know why it feels like I'm engaging in some sort of cottagecore homestead fantasy to like prioritize like human relationships over like content farming, but you would be surprised the mindset of some people online. Like they'll have you thinking as a content creator that if you're not spending every waking hour optimizing and churning out content, and if this isn't the one thing that matters, the only thing that matters, your holy grail, then like you're not going to be successful and you're going to be a flop. Like the Mr. Beastism of it all, you know, like I don't subscribe to that. Mr. Beast is like Mick fucking Donald CEO of the fast food parasocial content thing, you know? I tend to gravitate towards creators who I'm like, I can tell that they're spending time on the farm of, I don't want to call it slow content. Conversations with your friends being slow content. What? Just the fact that I'm even having this conversation is so scary. But like, I think in 10 years, I'm going to look back at this and be like, damn, yeah, the tides were turning. And this is my little piece of resistance, is that I want to actively fight the brain worms, the Mr. Beastian brain worms that are in his burgers. They're in his burgers, and they'll be telling you that you should spend more of your time online than in the real world because that benefits him. And it furthers his belief and his justification of his lifestyle and the way that he spends all of his time. And if that's right for him, that's right for him. But it's not right for me. And I can't have him recommending that. So everything is propaganda. He's peddling his, I'm peddling mine. And my propaganda is let's not post everything on your Instagram story. Sometimes you want to send that photo to one person and just type them a little something, you know? Send an e-letter, something like that. Hello? Can you tell that it's the next afternoon? I just spoke for an hour with my therapist, well, rather 54 minutes, about sort of like the state of disarray that I get into every night, because you've all been following along for my revenge bedtime procrastination journey. If you've been here for a while, like I'm still here. I'm not fixed at 28. It resides somewhere deep within me. Sometimes I'm like, do I really need to be filming this right now? Like halfway through my night routine? But 4:40 a.m. is when all the best confessionals happen. I'm like so embarrassed to say that. I'm like, I can't believe I'm awake at 4:40 a.m. But like, you guys, I'm actually functionally not that tired. Like it could be 4:40 p.m. right now. I don't understand. But I'm going to bed. I'm going to bed right after I finish this. I just took my retainer out to film this clip because some of the thoughts I'm having right now, I could FaceTime a friend, text somebody, send an audio message. But those are not available channels at 4:40 a.m. In fact, I actually have a message I need to send to a friend, but I'm embarrassed to send it because I don't want her to be like, why the fuck were you awake at 4:40 a.m.?
But really the crux of the situation, I've been thinking a lot about like discipline lately, and I think that was the current of my YouTube channel for a while, was like implementing discipline, encouraging others to seek discipline. Like, how can we basically use like willpower and structure and like regimented like habits to make our lives better? And I think now I'm on a path of like, well, what if we tried being compassionate to ourselves and gentle? Because being hard on yourself doesn't make you tougher. It just hurts. Like, it's just like not actually like a amazing solution. But I don't think discipline has like no role in your life. I think willpower still exists, and it is like a finite resource. And I find that usually I spend most of it in my day before bedtime. And so when I get to bedtime, I'm kind of like depleted. There's like a little 10% left, when at 10 p.m. I'm like, it's kind of early. Like, I could go to bed right now. And then I'm like, no, like you could watch that episode, or you could look for flights, or you could work on your next vlog, or like film some TikToks. And some of those things are like actually like beneficial uses of my time. Like, but what happens is like that 10% willpower I had at 10 p.m. If I'm like up 10:30, 11, 11:30, by like midnight, that 10% is down to 1. It's like truly that low battery iPhone state where like it could die at any point. And I'm sitting there at the bottom of the battery bar, like, damn, like, why did I think that I'd be able to resurrect the willpower I had 2 hours ago to maybe go to bed? And like, it's not here anymore. And I think that's like the fallacy I get into, is like I project at 10 p.m. that like in 2 hours I'll have the same amount of willpower, but I don't. So the compromise I've gotten to a lot of the time is just like, okay, get ready for bed at 10 p.m. and then go work on that thing, and then you can go to sleep. But like, ultimately, I need to operate off of like the amount of trust that I have in myself, because I feel like discipline is rooted in like self-trust. It's like, I know that you can do this. You have it within yourself. You can stick to it and concentrate and do it. It's like you have like for me, it's like there's a lot of things that I'm disciplined about, and you know, I'm committed about, and I show up again and again, and I've built that trust where I'm like, I know you can do that because I've seen the evidence. You've done it a million times. Like my podcast, I do it every single month. Some days it's 5 days later than I'd like it to be, but like it happens every single month. I have that evidence. Like going to stand up open mics, I'm doing that 2 nights a week, like pretty much every single week. So it's like, I've seen the evidence that like I can do that. I have the discipline to do it. Going to bed, my trust is shaky. Like, I don't have a lot of evidence for me being good at that. So I don't know why I project trust in myself in 2 hours. Like, I should just be like, you are a shady, like, this is where the self-compassionate gets into. I'm like, maybe I should be like, you're a shady character. Like, you're a charlatan at midnight. So while you still have even an inkling of like, maybe I should go to bed, I should do it. But I think ultimately, like, a beautiful way to think about it is like, the more that I actually get ready for bed at 10 p.m., the more like trust and faith I will build in myself. And that's a much better relationship you have to yourself than like, oh, you will see yourself as like a disciplined, regimented, like militant person. Like, I don't really want to see myself in that way, but I do want to see myself as someone like trustworthy and someone you can have a lot of belief and faith in. So I'm just getting really tired of knowing better and not doing better. Like, that's where I'm at in these closing 20s years, is like, I know better for most things. It's just a matter of like closing the gap of doing better. But I'm like, does that happen? People in their 30s, 40s, 50s that are watching these, does that happen? Have you been able to close the gap on a lot of things? Because it kind of just feels like I'm always like cycling through. Borealis, me for lost the love gon' be underborn. Everyone acts like a drink on. Yeah, we crickets in the future. Just days like far from home. Hopefully I can chop and screw whatever I just said into something valuable.